the movie villain, and the actual.
Okay, shout out to him for this challenge, and I wanted him to do. I had suggested a movie, and he hasn't done it yet, so I'm gonna just go ahead and just do it myself. Okay, so the movie villain, and the actual villain, and we are going to do Dreamgirls. Okay, Dreamgirls. So let's get into it. So the movie is Dreamgirls. The movie villain is Effie White, but the actual villain is Curtis Taylor Jr. Okay, he is the actual villain because let's just be real. He did everybody dirty. Okay, but first let's go in to talk about why they made Effie White the villain of the movie and how she's not the villain, she's the victim in the situation, and how she had righteous anger for what was happening. Okay, so let's get into it. So we know that at the beginning of the movie, when they were the Dreamettes, how Effie was the lead singer and Dina and Laurel, they were the backup singers, right? Because Dina and Laurel had the lighter voices, like, you know, the soprano, the alto, you know, but Jennifer, like, but Effie, she had the stronger voice. She had that strong, you know, she was the vocalist, okay? And that's why, like, it was... The Dreamettes sounded beautiful when you had that strong voice in the front and then you had the lighter voices in the back. So she was like the leader, you know, and even when they were first approached, you know, by Curtis to, you know, sing backup behind Jimmy Early, at first she was the one that was like they looking at Dina and Laurel looking at Effie like, you know, for reassurance, like, come on, Effie, let's go. And she, no, mister, we cannot accept your offer. Like, she was the leader, right? Now, once they started like singing backup or whatever, they all were singing backup. Then what happens is the Dreamettes go into the Dreams and now they are their own group. And then now when they are their own group, and Effie knew for the longest time she was the leader, she was that lead singer, then they gonna put her to the back and bring somebody else to the front and bring Dina to the front. And let's just talk about how that hurt her, because once she, like, Effie knew she was the singer. She had nothing against, you know, Dina being beautiful because she was able to admit it. Like, there was that one scene where she said, Dina's beautiful and she's always been beautiful, but I've got the voice, Curtis. I've got the voice. You can't put me in back. You just can't. And she was right about that, because we all knew that Dina was beautiful, the most beautiful one out of all of them. But Effie was the one that was the singer. She had the strong voice. The rest of them could sing too, but, you know, Effie had that stronger voice. So, of course, she was hurt because she felt as if, you know, her talent wasn't being as recognized anymore and how her gift was just being overlooked and she was put to the back, and that was hurtful for her. Two, you know, she also realized that, like, you know, it was just that one thing that Dina had that Effie didn't have, and that was the beauty. Okay, Dina had the beauty, and Effie just, not that Effie was ugly, Effie was pretty, but she wasn't like Dina. She wasn't like beautiful like her. So of course that's gonna make anybody feel some type of way. And then three, let's not forget how Curtis was out here just flirting with Dina right in front of Effie's face. He's being kinder to Dina. He's being more patient with her while he's getting aggressive and fussing and yelling at Effie. So imagine like Effie, put yourself in Effie's shoes for a second. She got her man. She got all of this conspiring against her for how she's upset. And then her own man is flirting with her bestie in front of her. And that would piss anybody off. So, of course, you know, at some point Effie was getting like jealous of Dina and whatever, because yeah, she was resenting Dina. But Effie had every right, every reason to resent Dina, because Dina done stole her position, her dream. She done took, you know, her man and went after Dina. So remember how she was right? Remember how when they were doing, remember how that one scene they were talking about like heavy, they were doing their heavy rehearsal and no performance. And then Dina's like, tell me what I've done, Effie. And she's like, you stole my dream, Dina, and you stole my man. Like, she was resenting her, but she had every right to, because of what was happening. And then number 4, Effie was pregnant by the end of that. So she's going through her pregnancy hormones. She's going through all of this range of emotions and everything. So of course things are starting to amplify. And after a while, when all of that shit is just conspiring, Effie didn't want to be there. She was keeping herself away. She was skipping out on rehearsals because she couldn't bring herself to go to a place where she's going to be triggered, where she's going to feel upset, because she's like, let me just remove myself. But by the time Effie had found out she was pregnant, she wasn't able to tell anybody. She was probably going to tell them eventually, but at that point in time, it was too late. But nobody ever took Effie's feelings into consideration, right? So Effie had every single right to be as upset as she was. And let's not forget how her own brother went against her for some damn money. Her own brother pushed her aside and chose the ops against her. So of course she felt betrayed by her own brother. And then she's sitting here watching, they didn't replace her. And it was a lot. So she had righteous anger. But here's what I feel about Effie. Effie had such a strong voice. She didn't need to be in no group. She didn't need to be backup. She needed to be by herself as a solo artist because she has the voice to do so. Remember? Yes. Now let's go into the actual villain. So the actual villain in Dreamgirls is Curtis Taylor Jr. Okay, he was the one that was the actual villain because he was scamming everybody. He was playing everybody. Like, first let's talk about how he done, really played Jimmy Early, because Jimmy Early, he had been in the game for years, for a couple decades. He'd been in the game, and he's just trying to Jimmy was just trying to make his big break. He was trying to make it into the industry, and what basically Curtis did is Curtis used Jimmy, let these girls sing backup so that can get, so it basically can, up Jimmy's image, up all of their image, but also it was secretly trying to they basically wanted to, it was like clout chasing. It's it was going to give them more clout. It was going to give them more money. They were going to sell more records. And by the time they had enough money where they can break into the industry on their own, he just left Jimmy behind and then just said, skedaddle, Jimmy, I'm focusing on the girls now. So he kind of was manipulative. He led Jimmy on, he really was there to help him and everything. But really he was just using Jimmy the whole time. Because once they started making it big, the girls blew up, really, really blew up. And then, and that's exactly why Jimmy started going to the drugs more. When the girls had first broke out and they first had got big and everything. And there was this one scene where Jimmy was talking with his friends and stuff. And he's like, Jimmy, look, there go your girls. And he see the girls on television making records and all of this stuff, getting super famous. And Jimmy's, feeling a little bit some type of way because he's like, I've been in this game for so long and here they are making it after they done left me behind. And that's when, he started spreading stuff out, cutting that stuff up and doing what he has to do, And that's why he that's why he resulted into the drugs and everything, because it was a coping mechanism for how upset and depressed he was, right? Then what happened with Jimmy is how, remember that song, Patience? That was a song for Jimmy because he really was at a point where he was turning his life around. He realized he had been patient for so long, waiting on his big break, and this is what he really wanted. He had transformed, and that was going to be a great breakout song for him. And it was meaningful. It had a message behind it. And then for Curtis to just kind of just dismiss it and act like it wasn't important and not give it the time of day, not invest any energy into it, that was heartbreaking for Jimmy. It was devastating. And then he's talking about, stop dressing like that. It's horrible for your image. Just belittling him and putting him down. And that's exactly why, Jimmy had Jimmy reached his breaking point. And that's when he just got in front of everybody and dropped his pants on live television because he was just doing anything he can to just get some attention because he was just upset. And also what happened is, once again, with the coping mechanism, he resorted to the drugs a lot. So at that point, that's what caused him to overdose. And then what happened is Curtis felt no remorse when Jimmy had passed away. No remorse whatsoever. They sitting there watching it on the news, and Curtis was like, Jimmy did this to himself, taking no type of accountability, for how he done, hurt Jimmy in the process, just very, very insensitive. Very insensitive. So it makes a lot of sense as to why that happened to Jimmy. It's not like Curtis winning off Jimmy, but it was just a combination of so many things, just piling up over time, that Jimmy could no longer take it. And then he got drugs and he overdosed, and then he passed away, and it was unfortunate. And then when all of that happened and Curtis still didn't give a damn, a villain, bro. A huge